Hi, and welcome to our discussion on crisis management. In this video, we'll go over what a crisis is, how to manage it, and what kind of plan to have in place. So let's discuss how we can prepare and take control in times where it may not feel like we have any control at all. So what is a crisis? A crisis is when we reach a point beyond our coping skills, when we've hit our limit. This is when our ability to handle stress has been acutely maxed out and when it shuts down. Our bodies go into survival mode, and our ability to reason and think clearly is temporarily gone. The key here is temporarily. A crisis is a short-term response, and with time and a plan, our bodies will regain control. An important question to consider is, what does being in crisis look like? Being in crisis looks different for everyone. Some cry uncontrollably or become violent. Some people can feel extremely depressed, helpless, frustrated, or even numb. These feelings can contribute to some people engaging in self-harm or even contemplating suicide. Crisis situations tend to be situational, like getting kicked out of a home, dealing with abuse or harm from others, or not getting enough sleep. Crises can also be biologically related, where we may have chemical imbalances in our brain that lead us to spend more time in states of crisis. It's important to know that when we are in crisis, our thoughts and perceptions are often not accurate. Inaccurate perceptions can look like us thinking in all or nothing terms, where we tell ourselves, "No one loves me," or "Nobody cares," "I'll never be good enough," or "I shouldn't be here anymore." These perceptions are false. We may only see the negative side of things or feel unable to pull through. When we are in crisis, it can feel like nobody else could ever imagine what we feel. While crises can feel isolating, know you're not alone. Almost everyone experiences their own form of crisis at different times and at different severities in their own lives. So how do we make it through a crisis? Crisis management involves having a plan before we reach a breaking point, so our plan is developed when we're in a place where we can think clearly and logically about what works for us. To help us make clear and logical decisions, a crisis management plan involves calling on others for help and identifying the little things we actually can do. Today, I'll walk us through how to include others, whether it's our friends or family, or organizations whose purpose is to help people in crisis to ensure their needs are met. For this video, I've created a sheet called the Crisis Management Plan that guides our development of a plan that works just for you. As I go through this sheet, feel free to pause the video and think about the prompts and fill out each section. Let's start with the warning signs. It's important to know what the warning signs are that let us know we're headed into crisis, so we can prepare ourselves to the best of our ability. It can be hard pinpointing exact situations that seem to set off a crisis. Crises could be brought on by a single event, or they could look like a bunch of different stressors building up over time. Like a game of Jenga where we draw that last block after slowly breaking down that block tower, causing the entire tower to crumble. For many, warning signs can look like physically feeling chest pains, headaches, or tiredness. People can feel a storm of emotions, like sad, angry, annoyed, or tired, with a whirlwind of thoughts swirling in our heads. So to identify our warning signs of how we feel and what tends to set off a crisis for us, we ask ourselves, what situations tend to send me into a crisis? How does my body feel? What thoughts, images, moods, situations, and behaviors make me feel like my body is in crisis? Document your warning signs on your crisis management plan sheet under the warning signs section. So now that we've addressed the warning signs, let's talk about removing harmful objects. It's important to remove harmful objects so people are less able to hurt themselves or others. If you have plans to harm yourself or tools you want to use, it's important that they not be a part of your immediate environment. Give them to someone to hold on to. Throw them in a locked drawer, throw them away, or bury them in the yard. Put them somewhere you will not be able to get them. This could look like keeping as few pens around as possible, if that's what's nearby that's sharp. It's helpful to have a replacement object or behavior that's a safer alternative, like putting ice on your wrist to simulate an intense feeling, or a rubber band to flick between your fingers. Lose the pens and turn to your rubber band. Take a moment to document what removing harmful objects looks like for you. Now let's think about our crisis coping skills. In the distress tolerance unit, we assume that we can manage our stress. But in a crisis, coping skills may not always work as we would hope. We may not have the time or capacity to stop and square breathe. And being mindful about that beautiful day outside will likely be the last thing on your to-do list. So it's important to have a few easy ones on hand that you could possibly try. The first coping skill I recommend in a crisis is removing yourself from a dangerous situation. If you're in a place that brings on a crisis and you can leave, do it. Write down your plan to safely remove yourself from that situation. Another coping skill you could use is redirecting your focus. This is simply doing what you can to take your mind off of a crisis. One way to do this is by changing how your body feels. For some people, redirecting your focus can include jumping in a shower, splashing cold water on your face, dancing, moving your body, pacing your breathing, relaxing your muscles, or taking a nap. Another crisis coping skill could be leaning on others for a distraction. This is exactly what it sounds like. Call up a friend, family member, or someone else you enjoy spending time with, and tell them you need a distraction or their help. Even though there are plenty of coping skills that you could choose from, these are just a few that you can think about when you need something quick. Take a moment to document what coping skills you can use in your times of crisis. In a crisis, counting on our own skills won't always cut it. And that's when we need to lean on others. So let's look at the Let Others Do the Work section on your sheet. Here, think about 3 people that you would feel comfortable including as your support system in a time of crisis. I want you to reach out to them and have a conversation. In this conversation, ask if they're able to be a part of your plan. If they say yes or want more information, let them know what you need. First, let them know how you're doing and that you're developing a plan that's keeping you safe and that you want them to be a part of it. Let them know that everyone should have a crisis plan, and regardless of how we feel, everyone deserves to feel safe. In other words, normalize this for them. This can look like you saying, "You don't have to worry about me right now, but I wanted to have a plan for myself in case I ever feel like things are not okay. It's important to me that you're a part of it since I trust you and value your help." Next, let them know what a crisis may look like for you so they can have an idea of what to expect. You can share your information from the warning signs section. Follow up with what you need from them. Maybe you need them to talk you through calming down or to help you see situations more clearly. You could need them to share a hug or not say anything at all. You could also ask your people to drive you to the hospital or to pick you up from a dangerous situation. Once you identify your people, write down their names, how you'll contact them, and what they'll do when you need their help. Write down their phone numbers, handles, emails, and addresses. It's important to remember that with our families and friends, there are reciprocity expectations where we should consider making ourselves available to them when they need and express our gratitude when we have called on them more than usual. We should also remember that our friends and family are not trained mental health providers and that we need to involve professionals when our crises may include thoughts of suicide, self-harm, or situations that may be out of our support system's wheelhouse. In addition to reaching out to your friends and family, or if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to them, take some time to look up nearby clinicians or therapists, local urgent cares, emergency rooms, and local community support agencies, and include those in your plan. I've also gathered a list of national crisis management hotlines on your crisis management plan sheet if there are limited nearby resources for you to use. This list includes situational crisis agencies such as the National Runaway Safe Line, True Colors United for Homelessness, the Domestic Violence Hotline, the Trevor Project, and the Rape, Abuse, Incest National Network. Add these to your phone if you think you may ever need them. Now let's discuss the reasons you can get through this. It's important to remind ourselves why we should pull through a crisis. Think about your reasons for hope and what life means to you. This could include thinking about what's near to your heart. Maybe that's your family, a close friend, your pet. Maybe it's the difference you'll make in this world one day, or the difference you're making right now. Identifying your reasons for pulling through a crisis can help you keep your eye on the prize and give you the motivation to want to pull through. Be specific in thinking about your reasons to get through this and take your time filling out this section. So now that you have a completed plan, let's make sure it's stored in a place that's easily accessible, like on your phone or computer. Maybe you print off a few copies to keep in a car, a room, or your backpack. Also, share this plan with the people who are a part of it to remind them of their commitment. Make a commitment to use this plan when you need it. Don't sell yourself short. Don't stop using your plan until the crisis is over and you feel safe. Whether your plan fully works or you identify a part that didn't quite feel right, a crisis management plan is like riding a bike. It takes some time to figure it out, but once you know how to make it work for you, it will always be there, ready to go right when you need it. Take the time to think about what causes a crisis and what a crisis looks like for you. Think about the little things you can commit to doing for yourself. Connect with your people and organizations that you can rely on. Document how you'll contact them. Remember to take your time to consider the reasons you can get through a crisis and be specific. Lastly, make a commitment to yourself that you will use your plan in a crisis and that you will keep this sheet nearby. Having a crisis management plan doesn't mean you're in crisis, and it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've taken the time to value yourself by developing a tool that can get you through the toughest times in your life. Creating a crisis management plan takes courage and vulnerability because you're putting yourself first, admitting that you may need help, and allowing others to help you. And you know what? You deserve it. You deserve to have a plan that works for you and that keeps you safe. You've done it. You've officially completed your mental health plan. It all started with getting your buy-in of why you deserve to have a plan. Did it work? We learned how to reframe our unhelpful thoughts to productive ones. Then we learned how to regulate ourselves and practice feel-good techniques of mindfulness that we can also use when we need to manage our stress. Then we tackled how to manage moments that are stressful when we take ownership in helping ourselves recover. And with crisis management, we officially have a plan in place for when we feel like we have no control at all. By building our mental health plan and incorporating it into our daily lives, we're equipping ourselves to be resilient, strong, and aware human beings. So thank you for spending this time tuning in and for taking ownership over your mental health and wellness. I'm Dr. Kipperman, and the world's a better place because you're in it.